Back at you with another Pogogi podcast. And today we thought we would reflect back on the podcasts that we have done so far. So, reflecting back on the first podcast that we did when we were talking about our experiences in Japan, some of the foods that we tried, some of the things that we expected and didn't, I recall speaking about takoyaki, the octopus inside that kind of flower ball. And I remember we were sharing our experiences with takoyaki and how it didn't really um, taste the way we thought it would. I mean, it was good, but I think it caught us both caught us both by surprise in terms of the texture, the amount of octopus that was actually in it, and although it was good for myself, it wasn't something that I went back to while I was in Japan. But ironically, the a couple of weeks ago, I was ordering Japanese food. The other thing we talked about as well was um, how not perhaps rare is not the right word, but the fact that you don't really see takoyaki much out there in across the restaurants, but there are some. And several weeks ago when I was ordering Japanese food, I noticed that they had it on the menu. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to give it a try. I ordered it, and mind you, there was the delivery time and all that kind of stuff. So it wasn't like it was fresh out of the kitchen. And I got to say, I actually really enjoyed it this time. And I was trying to figure out, if it was actually made the quote unquote traditional way with the cast iron molds and whatnot, or if it was literally just, maybe just deep fried. I couldn't really tell, but they were certainly like quite round. But I really enjoyed them, and I actually ordered them again the next time. So I think I've had a change of heart with takoyaki again. Not that the first experience was bad, but I definitely think that next time I'm in Japan, hopefully sooner than later,
Hmm.
I'm going to order takoyaki
Yeah.
for sure again.
Yeah. I wonder if it's made differently in different restaurants, or it's the same standard way that people make them. Um, because I think I think like in any kind of recipe, right? There's always a slight variation
Hmm.
depending on the chef or who's making it. I wonder if it's that was the case when because when I had it, it was at a festival, and I'm thinking maybe I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but these festivals they tend to make them differently, as in restaurants. So
Hmm.
that's something that maybe I should try as well as when I go back to Japan, or if it's available even in North America, maybe just try it in at different restaurants, or maybe because yeah, I find it could be the fact that that's the fact that's probably why. Maybe did you find it tasted different at all? Like, I mean, you're saying that.
No, I found it tasted basically like from what I remember. I found it tasted relatively the same.
Mm-hmm.
Like it seemed to be, you know, very, very similar from what I recall. But if you tried it like at a festival in Japan, I kind of have the, I kind of think that those are probably the like decent places to have takoyaki because if I'm not mistaken, it's a street food, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
point. It could be also the fact that you're at a festival and you're trying like so many different foods
could
that
be,
you're just overwhelmed with like I mean
could
it
be.
tastes good, but it just you get kind of full, and then maybe it's the worst thing to have at the end of you know uh after trying all different foods is takoyaki at the end, because it is pretty it's a battered food, so
It's heavy. Yeah.
yeah.
Hey, when were you there? Like when did you what month of the year was it?
I think it was in fall,
Oh, okay.
early fall. Hmm.
Because I was just thinking, being as it's a street food, which I'm pretty sure it is, um, I think one condition where I might not try it would be when it's really hot outside, because it doesn't, to me, seem like the type of thing that I would want to eat when it's super hot outside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. It is a warm food. It
Yeah,
comes out really hot. So it
like it would be a good fall, like winter food when you're on the
yeah,
street.
yeah, yeah. I agree.
Um, so yeah, I think I've had a change of heart
Mm-hmm.
with takoyaki. The other thing too that I tried as well is uh, you know how when you order shrimp tempura, um, you know, you often get the tempura sauce to dip your shrimp tempura in.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I tried another like seasoning method, if you will, with my shrimp tempura, which, from what I understand in Japan, if you go to some of the kind of um, you know tempura specific uh, restaurants, um, they'll suggest that you dip it in like your shrimp tempura, that you dip it in like coarse, I think it's sea salt, but salt nonetheless, instead of the dipping sauce.
Mm.
So I thought, oh, that's interesting. I'm gonna try that. So I ordered shrimp tempura the other day. Of course, it wasn't fresh because it was being delivered. But instead of dipping in the sauce that came with it, I I just sprinkled coarsely ground sea salt over the shrimp tempura, and I actually found it was quite nice.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So for our listeners out there, if you want to try something a little bit different, try you know, sprinkling or dipping your shrimp tempura in coarse. I'm just gonna say sea salt. I don't know if they were using in Japan some,
Mm-hmm.
you know, special type of salt, but I used coarse sea salt and it tasted quite nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love sea salt. I put that on. I use that a lot as a replacement of salt, table salt,
Mm, yeah,
whether it's Himalayan salt or the pink salt, sea salt, coarse salt.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
um,
um,
yeah. Speaking.
and th-
Yeah. Well, I was thinking like speaking of I can't even say that word. Takoyaki.
the octopus balls.
Yeah, octopus balls. Wasn't the didn't one of the podcasts that we did recently or quite recently was with Travis and he mentioned it or something?
Yes,
Um,
yes. I think he mentioned having takoyaki with Chef Morimoto. And I'm
yeah,
not sure if it was the same night that he got drunk with him and he said he had to get carried out. Not
yeah,
Morimoto, but Travis.
yeah. I believe that was the end near the end of the podcast. I just
Yeah,
had it opened here on screen, so we have the transcript as well. So hopefully we'll have timestamps in the future, but that's that's coming. But yeah, I think that was near. That was I found that really really interesting to hear that he hung out with Marimoto and he had those octopus balls.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the other interesting about Chef Morimoto was that um, on our podcast with Debbie Sushi, she had mentioned that she idolized Morimoto when she was, you know, growing up and watching Iron Chef all the time, and then ended up working for him in Napa Valley.
Yes, she mentioned that in her podcast, which was podcast. Let me just check here. Podcast 10. Yeah, she mentioned that, and that was pretty shocking to me as well. And to actually be working with him, because when you're a fan of someone growing up, right? That's who you look up to, and then later on in life, you get the chance to work that person or meet that person, but let alone not meet, but also work with that person for him or
Yeah.
her. It's quite incredible. So I'm sure, yeah, Debbie was pretty excited when she mentioned that. So
You
uh,
know, something else that just came to mind, speaking of Debbie and, you know, people she looked up to, um, we did, you know, behind the scenes of that podcast with Debbie, we were talking about Chef Nikki Nakayama and how that was another person that Nikki looked up to, because she was also, you know, um, I guess one of the pioneers in terms of being a woman
mhm.
and breaking into, you know, Japanese food and whatnot. And we had actually done an interview with Nikki Nakayama like way back. And I
Mhm.
thought it was really cool because, since we did the podcast or the interview with her, which was a written interview, she's gone on to do, and I'm not saying it's because we did an interview with her because she had many interviews done with her,
Mhm.
but she's gone on to do some amazing things.
Mhm.
She's been on Netflix. She has her own masterclass now.
Mhm.
And I mean, her own masterclass on the masterclass.com site. And I thought that was really kind of interesting. And, I don't know if we'll ever be able to reach out to Nikki anymore because
Yeah, pretty busy.
she's yeah,
But
she's a little bit bigger than us, but
yeah, yeah,
but I thought that was really interesting.
yeah. It was cool when Debbie mentioned her that she was like her hero, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
So I was like,
yeah,
oh,
because Debbie was mentioning that she had at the time she had a difficult time even getting her employer at the time to let her even train to be a sushi chef because she
yeah,
was told by her employer that girls don't do this.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was a really interesting. That was a really good interview with her. But I mean,
Yeah,
she really worked hard. She really did,
she did.
and she's. I mean, her Instagram is blowing up right now, and you just have to look at her pictures. It's just
Yeah,
the Debbie box is really really clever.
Debbie-fied, Debbie-fied.
Debbie-fied, yeah, Debbie-fied. I'm just looking. I'm just having her podcast opened here on on a website and just scrolling through her pictures here.
Yeah, they're amazing. Her creations are just spectacular.
Yeah, yeah.
Something else that she mentioned, or I think we brought it up actually on the podcast with Debbie, was the curry because she's Korean, but she does Japanese food. She does a fusion of other different ingredients as well. But one thing that we asked her about was the Korean version of a sushi roll, kimbap, and she described it quite well in the podcast. But I was thinking about it afterwards, and I've had that before,
Mm-hmm.
and I think you were with me. I
Mm-hmm.
could be wrong, but I think we were together when, at least when I tried it. This was back in university,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know if you remember um, one of the international students. Her name was Susan. We had some kind of dinner uh, gathering or get together um, at someone's apartment, and Susan was there, and there were some international students there, and I believe it was Susan that had brought kimbap.
Mm.
Do you remember that?
I'm trying to remember. I don't quite recollect, but I've had it before later, like not recently, but maybe 10 years ago. But I don't remember
Mm-hmm.
the time in university though. Uh,
Mm.
what did you think though when you had it though? Did you remember the?
Well, I thought it was just a big fat sushi roll, like as Debbie described it. It looked like a
Yeah,
Japanese version of a fat roll,
yeah. I
and so I didn't know that there was a Korean style, if you will,
yeah,
of a roll.
yeah. Me neither.
And I don't. All I remember was that it was good. I don't
Yeah,
remember anything else though.
yeah. I love it. I had it like I said 10 years ago, and what I like about it is it's really crunchy because they used what is it? Daikon.
Pickled vegetables, yeah,
Pickled.
pickled
Yeah,
daikon.
yeah. It's because kimbap is it's one of the big sushis, right? It's
Yep, yep.
I forgot how you call it in Japanese. There's a
Futomaki.
futomaki, yes. So it's
Yeah,
size futomaki, and they use huge, you know,
yeah. I
icon in there. It's super crunchy. I love crunchy stuff.
Yeah.
So when I had
Actually,
it,
you know what?
good. Yeah.
That's something else I ordered after the podcast with Debbie because that was a roll that I used to, order a lot when I first started eating a lot of sushi or rolls, I should say.
Mhm.
And I was like, you know what? I haven't had one of those rolls in such a long time. And so I ordered it, and like you said, it's got that pickled daikon, like it's yellow, egg. There was shiitake mushrooms, and it was just, and there was a few other things in there too, and it's so savory, so good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and Actually, I'm gonna veer off here on to into something else, but because I because of that podcast with Debbie, I was like going back to like old school things that I had a long time ago,
Yeah.
which was that role. And you know how we were talking about, I can't remember which podcast this was, but um I think it may have been the first one, but we were talking about, what your favorite roles are and whatever, or your go-tos.
Yeah.
And for the longest time for myself, it was California roll, like old school North American style. And then for the longest time, it's been the chopped scallop roll. And as of late, I've kind of transitioned from the chopped scallop roll, and I'm into the giant surf clam roll.
Oh wow.
And it's an inside out roll, but same kind of idea. I think it's just instead of the um, chopped scallop, it's chopped up,
Mhm.
chopped up giant surf clam.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that one I quite like now, so I'm going to that one and
Nice.
the Fudumaki roll.
Yeah. Yeah, I love fudumaki. It's the only sushi I can make myself because I make my sushi really big. I'm not really good. I'm not by means an expert in sushi, but when I make sushi, I tend to put a lot of stuff, so it ends up being I guess fudumaki because it's so
Well,
big.
that's kind of what it means, like in Japanese.
Yeah,
If like futo is,
yeah,
I'm using like a North American accent to say it, but that futo means like fat, and maki is a roll, right? So it's like
yes,
fat roll.
yes, yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
Well, speaking of our other podcasts, I was thinking about the one with Epoto T there. Um, it's because I'm just going through uh, the podcast here, and what was fascinating with that podcast how old the company is.
yeah,
I think it was 1717 it was founded,
yeah, yeah,
and that just blew my mind. I knew it was old, but I didn't know
yeah.
it was that old. And I'm not sure how old the shop is. The one they currently, well, they have opened in New York City. That's obviously not 300 years old. I mean, the U.S. is not
Yeah.
that old. So,
Well,
uh,
that's what Kim was saying, right? Like when we
yes,
did the
Kim. Yeah.
podcast, she was like, "Yeah, that tea company is older than our country."
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
it was. I remember that, when we asked Debbie what her favorite sushi was, or sorry, what her favorite Japanese food is,
mhm.
like our
Yeah.
standard issue question, right? And she mentioned yakitori, and my response was, I don't think we've ever gotten sushi as a favorite Japanese food,
Uh-huh.
which is not true because Kim actually said her favorite Japanese food is the box press sushi.
Oh, yes.
So that was my mistake because we did have one. But aside from Kim, no one else said sushi. It was that I found that really interesting.
Yeah, especially the sushi chefs that we interviewed, like Travis and Debbie, right? And um, I thought for sure sushi, or maybe sashimi, maybe.
Yeah.
But
Well, Travis mentioned sashimi as I think as the second because
yeah,
like we
second.
followed up like
Yeah,
as the
yeah,
second one,
it must be in there. But yeah, and what was his? It was uh,
which has okay.
yes, very, very
I did
homey.
not expect him to pull that out.
Yeah,
Like that's the last thing I expected him to say.
yeah, yeah. I just have his.
But
Yeah. I'm just looking at his hand
and
rolls right now. I guess
oh my god, they're
that's
amazing.
because you had it when you were on his cruise line many years ago, I assume. But that's his big project right now. Is well,
Well, the hand
focus,
rolls that
right?
I had,
Yeah.
the hand rolls that he made for me that day on the ship are not the same type of hand rolls that he's making now.
Because I right now I have that picture of his hand rolls right now open his current invention.
Yeah, they look incredible.
Yes, yes. So they're different than the ones you had back on the
Yeah,
cruise. Okay.
yeah. But I mean, they were amazing. But the hand rolls that Travis is innovating right now, they look tremendous. Like,
Yes. It's,
actually, speaking of Travis, he's on a cruise ship right now, I believe.
oh, really?
Hmm. I think he's back at sea now. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
On
Yeah.
his Instagram, you can see.
Oh, interesting. I've heard of cruise ships are on out in the seas right now. Just
Yeah, I mean, hopefully one of these days we'll be able to get back out as well.
mm-hmm.
But yeah. What is there anything else that you recall that was kind of interesting? I mean, going back to, favorite Japanese food and things like that. I remember the interview we did with Greg, the um, popular YouTuber, which was podcast. What was it?
Podcast 6.
6.
Yeah.
And we asked him what his favorite food was, and I think he said any kind of Japanese noodle, but I think he favored ramen.
Yes. I would think ramen would be very popular amongst North Americans. Like
Hmm.
it's one of my favorites. Like if you ask me what was my favorite Japanese food, it would be probably be tied ramen and sushi. So I just love ramen.
Yeah.
I just I mean there's when I went to Japan, I remember there was this probably 6 7 years ago, and I think you recommended me to go to this
Oh yeah.
because
Right.
it's near the hostel. I went to the same hostel you went. I think it was a
Yeah.
hostel. It didn't
Yeah.
feel like
It
a
was.
hostel. It was
No.
I,
No. 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 It was. I
I
think
had
I think it was called the Oak Hotel. It wasn't a hostel. It
no,
was
it
like a
wasn't.
hotel,
Yeah,
but
that was my
yeah,
bad.
yeah, yeah. It was yeah, a hotel, but it was a small hotel. I think it was, if I remember correctly, I think it's called the Oak Hotel or something like that.
Yeah,
It was like maybe 10 minutes from the Ueno train station.
yeah,
And the ramen shop was like in between the
hmm
hotel and the train station.
that's right. That's right. And I remember being not really pricey at all. It was like something like
No.
$40 for a one room, and yeah, it's a good look. It was located really well. Like yeah, like you said, this by the station there. So, but yeah, that ramen place
Yeah.
you recommended. Oh my goodness, it was
It was
just
so good.
walking in. It's a small. It's a seating of like maybe 8 people
Maybe
capacity,
10, yeah.
maybe 10, and yeah, it was just it's the broth. I mean, the noodles too. Like the noodles is important, like the chewiness of it, but the broth is. I mean, I don't know. It's just amazing. It's heavenly. I would say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing. I remember that day I had, yes, it's not big. 10 is probably maybe 20 max, but not a lot of people. And I
Mhm.
remember I had the bowl of ramen, plate of gyoza, ice cold beer. Best thing ever.
Yeah. Best combo. Best
So
combo.
good.
Hmm. Yeah. Um,
And there's something about, being able to sit at a counter and watch the chefs cook, and you're within like, I don't know, like 6 feet from them.
yeah.
And there's just something about that atmosphere that is very, I don't know how you would describe it, but it just adds to the whole experience.
Hmm. It almost feels like you're homey. I don't know. That's
Yeah.
just you feel comfortable. You
Yeah.
feel like at home, and
Yeah.
it's comfort food too at the same time. So
Hmm.
and yeah, you just it's great because you can just see him like doing what he does best.
Yes.
So I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. Have you ever seen those stand-up noodle places in Japan? Those are pretty
Yeah.
popular. Have you been to one before?
I've never eaten at one, but I've walked by many of them.
And it's ramen,
And
right? Is it ramen they serve there?
usually I believe it's normally ramen.
Okay.
Um, but most of the times, I've seen many of them and I passed by many of them, but I've never actually eaten at one. But what's super funny is that every time I pass by them, like it seems it seemed to be later at night for whatever reason, and you have a bunch of drunk salarymen
Yeah. Yeah.
as they call them in Japan, just wasted and just drunk out of their minds.
Yeah.
And it's just super hilarious. And it's like it's harmless, like no one bothers
But
you,
yeah. Yeah.
but
No, for sure.
it's very entertaining.
It's entertainment. Yeah. Yeah. I find it smart to have a stand-up shop like that where you can just go in and you need something quick, and
Yeah.
especially eating like having noodles, right? It can be you need a place to, comfortable to. I mean, you're standing up, but at least you have a place to eat it and just eat as fast as you can because it's the work life in Japan is very hectic, so it's nice that they have that, and I'd like to try one for sure. I'm not sure I have to be in a to eat fast though, but but I like to experience it though.
Yeah. Actually, you know what I would like to try? And you know how we were talking about having takoyaki like on like a cooler fall day or like in the winter months, because it probably would be a lot more satisfying than eating something like that on a really hot, humid, muggy day. Um, you know those Japanese, they're not a food truck. They're kind of like a portable food stall,
Mm-hmm.
and they have and they make ramen noodles like out of this like portable little food stall. And you know, some of them will have like some seating either around the actual stall or maybe like several feet away. They'll maybe have like a couple tables they set up, and that's something that I really really want to try, especially like on a cool night, walking down the street. You see this like teeny weeny little like food, this little stall that serves ramen with like one dude behind it. You
Hmm.
order up your ramen and just like you're like sitting at like on the street, either at the stall or on this table
Hmm.
on like a cool night, eating a hot bowl of ramen.
Hmm.
Would, I don't know, something like that's something that I want to try.
Yeah, that sounds like something I would like to do as well.
Hmm. And there's a bunch of videos on YouTube that goes and searches for these ramen, um,
Huh.
whatever you call them, like these little stalls.
Like pop-up stalls or
There, some of them are pop up, like literally, because they transport, like they pull them around with them,
yeah,
and
that's
they got like power,
wow.
you know, and lights, and you
Wow.
know, they're stoves, and but they're super small.
Okay. I need that in my city. There's not enough ramen places here. It's just too bad. It's just I know it's you can find a lot of them in California, but outside California, in North America, it's very hard. I mean, they're around. It's just be nice to have something like that, convenient, just like you know, pop up in a busy street and just go in at night and
Mhm.
have a
And
well,
it seems like these little stalls are run. It appears that they're run predominantly by like older, more elderly men,
yeah.
and you know, I don't know if they're doing it to support themselves or whether it's a hobby, but nonetheless, it looks delicious, and it something that I want to try next time I'm there.
Nice. Hmm.
Yeah, so those are kind of some of the things that, I mean, we've had some amazing guests, and they've all been. It's funny because they've all talked about things that I really didn't expect them to say.
Mm-hmm.
They've always come up with really interesting, fun answers, and it's really been fantastic.
Yeah, it's been really great. I agree because you never know what they're going to be talking about. I mean, you throw out questions and the answers they give is just sometimes it's really well, usually I find it surprising, especially coming uh, especially the sushi chefs. I find it's very interesting what they have to
Yeah,
say coming
yeah.
from their perspective, and yeah,
You
well,
know, one thing that I was reflecting back on with Debbie's podcast when we were asking her about tips or hacks to make someone's Japanese cooking experience at home easier, and she was talking about rice and whatnot, and how we were asking her about how she measures water.
Mhm.
And actually, no, before that, she was like, soak your rice and then rinse it,
Mhm.
and then, you proceed. But one thing I forgot to mention that hopefully we can follow up with her and get some clarification around this. So her method was soak the rice for at least 30 minutes and then rinse it for, I believe she said, 15 to 20 minutes and then cook it. But what I forgot to ask her is if after she drains it, does she just put the drained rice back in the rice cooker without adding any more water? Or if
Mm.
she puts the drained rice back in and then re-adds the proper amount of water?
Mm.
My intuition is the second, but I don't know.
Mhm.
So that's something that I was thinking about and
Mhm.
would like to get some clarity on from her.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. Little details like that, especially making rice. I like,
Like
yeah,
soaking, yeah, that makes a huge difference for sure because I do that. But and then even when she was like rinse it for 15 to 20 minutes, I don't know if she maybe meant seconds because that seems like a long time to just have rice like being rinsed or drained.
yeah.
Like I don't know, you know what I
Maybe
mean?
if she said she meant soaking, but she said rinse. So,
Rinse it
uh,
for I think she said 15 to 20 minutes.
hmm, that,
But that, unless she said rinse it for 15 to 20 seconds, maybe she just
yeah,
said
it's quite
minutes by
long.
accident. Yeah, but
We'll have to follow up with her on that or send an email. I'm sure we'll
yeah,
get her on the a future podcast in the near future.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
But hey, I got a question for you.
Mhm.
What kind of Japanese food have you been craving lately?
Oh, that's easy. Like I already mentioned it. It's ramen. Like, yeah, ramen. It's my go-to, and I love it. And in second, I would say sashimi. I really love raw fish, so
Mm,
it's my favorite. I love sashimi, and it was funny because I was watching I know I might be going off topic. YouTube channel. It's on these two. I think they're short claw babies. They're seals. I think they're short
oh,
claw seals, and they're they're like little dogs, and the whole YouTube channel is based on these two little seals that do fun stuff around the house. And one of the episodes last week was them eating sashimi.
no
Yeah,
way.
so the owner brought out a bowl of sashimi, and they were going crazy. They were just like making these little cute little seal noises, and they were, and I thought they would just like use their mouths just to grab it, but they have little hands, like they're almost like
Mm,
human hands. Uh,
mm,
and that's why they're called short claw. They're little seals, and I think they're found throughout Southeast Asia in rivers. But these little guys have little human hands, so they use their hands. So they pick up the sashimi with their hands, like what I would do with sashimi, because apparently you can. And they just kind of eat it, and it was just like, and then from when I saw that, I was like, oh my god, I need sashimi right now. So,
so do they kind of look like otters?
oh yes, short claw otter. Yeah, I think they are more of otter than seal.
Okay.
My bad. Yeah, yeah. So I've been craving sashimi as well. See, watching that videos. Yeah.
You know, um, that reminds me of something else we talked about on a hmm, maybe podcast 1 or 3 when you reminded me of that photo of sashimi that was taken, I think, in Hawaii that I had.
Mm-hmm.
And you were asking me if it was good. And I was like, it was okay. Like it looked better in the picture than it tasted.
Yes.
And I was thinking about it afterwards. And I think I know why. And the reason why I think it didn't taste great and it tasted kind of bland was because on that menu at that restaurant,
Mm-hmm.
um, what they were known for was serving like freshly caught fish. So they would give you the name of the fisherman in which waters, like very close to the restaurant it was caught, what kind of fish it was, and blah blah blah. And it was like caught that day and turned into sashimi.
Mm.
And I think the reason why it didn't taste very good was because it was fresh, which I know for a lot of people might sound kind of counterintuitive, but from what I understand, I even in Japan, the really high end restaurants, I don't believe they sell fresh, or I don't believe they serve um, fresh fish sashimi, or they don't make sashimi out of fish that was freshly caught because it doesn't taste like anything,
Mm.
especially tuna, from what I understand.
Hmm.
If you eat um, like if you catch a tuna fresh and you immediately turn it into sashimi, it doesn't taste good.
Hmm.
It needs to age a little bit,
Hmm.
and I'm quite sure that a lot of high end Japanese restaurants, some of them will even intentionally age them a little bit longer. So
Hmm.
the fish is fresh, but it's like right out of the water fresh. And
Ah.
even if you remember seeing a lot of videos on YouTube from the old Tsukiji fish market, and they have those tuna auctions, like those aren't fresh; they're frozen solid,
Hmm. Yep.
right?
Yeah.
So
I heard that.
um, yeah, so it's kind of a myth, I think, that
Yeah.
especially with tuna,
Hmm.
that fresh tuna makes the best sashimi. It's from what I understand, it's not true,
Hmm.
and that's probably why that um, sashimi that I had that day didn't taste like anything.
Ah. Okay. Did you find the texture a bit different? Like, it wasn't
It was yeah, it
chewy
was
a bit?
yeah. Like I was thinking about it for a while after you brought it up, and I kind of think about it every now and then, and so my memory like is slowly kind of like putting the pieces back together. But yeah, it was not. It didn't take like the texture and the firmness, if you will, was not the same as your typical um, sashimi that you would be used to in a
Like
restaurant.
like
The
buttery.
flavors, yeah, the flavor certainly was not there.
Mm.
Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
so that kind of reminded me when you're talking about those animals eating the sashimi.
Yeah. 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 I heard that too. I think they have the fish on ice for
Yeah,
1 or 2 days before they even like cut it for sushi or sashimi. So
but I mean, I mean, for those who may think that sounds weird, that really is. I mean, people age steaks,
mhm.
right,
Yeah.
to amplify the flavor.
Yeah.
So, why would it be necessarily any different from
Hmm.
aging
Yeah.
fish? Because when they age steaks, they're aging them raw,
That's right.
right? Like they're not cooking them and then aging them.
Hmm.
So, but
Yeah.
yeah, recently I've been craving a really good rice ball.
Oh yes, yes. I was gonna ask you the same question back at you.
Yeah,
Craving Japanese food, you've been craving. So rice balls, huh? Hmm.
yeah, Japanese rice ball. I've been craving that.
The last time I had one was at the airport in Okinawa when I was leaving
Oh,
Japan, and yeah, I think it was like under $2 US, and it was
mm.
amazing. Yeah,
Something about handheld food is very appealing
yeah.
to me anyway.
Hmm.
Like I know, like okay, totally not related to Japanese food, but like in Jamaica, I would, um, I would just, I don't like when on vacation, like I would purposely like seek out. Well, I always purposely seek out places to eat. But in Jamaica, one of my favorite things to eat there, aside from the oxtail, is um, uh, beef patties.
Mm, okay.
Kind of like a Jamaican version of a pizza pop. I hope I didn't offend anybody from Jamaica by saying that, but that's kind of how
Oh,
like it
okay.
kind of looks like a pizza pop.
There's a name. There's a term for that. I forgot.
Beef patty.
Is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah, Jamaican beef patty. Yeah,
Oh, what's a roti? Was it roti? Same. Rotis might be.
that's I think where it's more of like a
Okay.
style.
Okay.
Like it's not. Um, I believe a roti is there's some kind of it looks like a flatbread, I believe. That's got the
Hmm.
stuff inside and it's all wrapped up,
Hmm.
something like that. Roti's delicious too.
Hmm. Okay. Hmm.
Oh, which reminds me, something else that Kim said, Kim Yorio, and I don't remember which podcast this was with her, but she had mentioned like when we were talking about what other kind of Japanese foods that she thought could make it big in North America, and she busted out Japanese curry,
Yes.
and I totally agree.
Hmm.
And that's one thing I really loved about the discussions with these different guests is they would pull things out that you know you wouldn't necessarily think that they would say, but when they say it, it's like, yeah, that totally makes sense. Except for Travis's Ochauzuke, I never thought in a million years he would say that.
Yeah.
But Japanese curry for sure, I think that could definitely catch on, especially if you like Indian food. I mean, it's not the same, but
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It's not the same. You've had it in Japan? Did you
yeah.
go to a Japanese curry specialized restaurant?
Um,
Because I've heard there's.
I think it was kind of, if I recall, it was curry. They sold curry and something else, and I can't
Okay.
remember what the something else was because I was just focused on curry,
Yes.
and I didn't even pay attention to what the other dish they sold was. Um,
Yes.
but yeah, it was deadly
Yeah.
good.
I've been to one or two, and there's chain restaurants as well that only serve curry. Yeah, curry restaurants in Japan. I forgot there's a one that's pretty popular. You find them around the corner, and it just serves only Japanese curry.
Mm,
And it's almost like a fast food type place, but I love Japanese curry, and yeah, and you can make them. You can buy the what do you call it? The at the
the
stores
cubes.
there. The cubes. That's right.
Yeah,
It's easy, but it's not.
it's
Yeah,
so easy.
so easy to make. But having it in the restaurant, it was a bit different for sure.
Mm.
It's
They
more.
have their different flavor profiles,
Hmm.
which you can buy like in Japan. Like it's kind of like with their drink selection, like at the vending machines and the convenience stores and everything. Like how like it seems like the drink selection is endless.
Yeah.
If you go to certain grocery stores in Japan, you go down like the curry box aisle, it's kind of the same thing. And different restaurants that specialize in curry will have their own curry uh, blend, for lack of a better word,
Mm.
so that you can buy the curry blocks from that restaurant with their recipe,
Oh, okay.
which
That's
is
interesting.
pretty cool.
That's really neat.
Yeah. And curry is one of like Japanese curry is one of my favorite things to eat in the winter, especially like, well, where I'm from. And it gets deadly cold here, and there's nothing like going inside a warm house to a warm, you know, either usually it's a plate of hot steamed rice and Japanese curry. It's so kind of
Yes.
like Travis was saying about his ochazuke. It was like it warms the soul.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And it's different from Indian curry. Like I know from the
Yeah,
listeners or viewers of this
very
one.
different.
Yeah, it's a bit sweeter, I
Mm.
find. So, but again, it's
And
like
it's kind of like a gravy too, right?
yeah, it depends on the blend again. But I find generally, um, the Japanese curry is a bit sweeter than Indian curry. Uh,
Yeah.
Generally
And I
speaking.
know in Japan they like to put ketchup in it as it's cooking.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Never-
And and some people put, um, like, I think the standard kind of really basic Japanese curry is like the ingredients that you add to the flavor, or to the box package is, what is it? Potatoes, carrots, and
Is it
some
onions
type of meat. Onions, yeah, potatoes, carrots,
and chicken?
onions,
Chicken
and
is
I think it's
option.
chicken thigh is pretty popular.
Yes.
But you can put like whatever. Like it's pretty impossible to screw it up.
Hmm.
Um, and so I tried adding ketchup. And some people in Japan also like to put like fresh tomatoes in there.
Okay.
for a little bit of sweetness and acidity.
I was
And
okay. I thought you were
yeah,
gonna say Japanese mayo for some reason.
oh no. So I was like, okay, well, let me try the ketchup. And it took me a few different times to kind of get the right amount in that I liked.
Mm.
But now that I've tried it, I do like a little bit of ketchup in it.
Hmm. I think it would make a bit more sweeter or
A
acidic.
little bit sweeter, yeah, a little bit sweeter.
Okay.
But but not like overly, like unless you like squirt like half bottle in there.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Huh, I didn't know that. I had no idea people put ketchup in their Japanese curry. I might have to try that
Like as it's cooking. Yeah.
as it's cooking. Okay.
Yeah. Like towards the end, I think.
More at the end. Like
Towards the end they'll kind of like, and I think it also maybe acts as a thickener as well. I
yeah.
mean, it's already pretty thick, but
Like, are you saying like a tablespoon or a teaspoon of it or a couple
well, I guess
squirts?
it depends on how much you're making, but
Okay.
um I guess the best way would just be to add a little bit at a time and just keep tasting
Yeah,
as it's cooking.
makes sense.
But
Okay. I like to put hot sauce in mine. I think
oh, which kind?
Tabasco or
Yeah.
pretty much it's just yeah, I just love, and then I like spice, make it a bit spicier, and it brings out the flavor a bit too as well.
Yeah.
So I love it when yeah.
Have you ever gotten the spicy versions of those curries?
No, I haven't. I
Yeah,
haven't.
because you can get like not hot, mild, or hot.
Oh, you know what? I usually get the mild. Because I never seen the hot at the
Oh, okay.
store I've been to. But is it really spicy, the hot? Like how like
No, not if you're like a spicy guy, but it's spicy enough.
okay.
Like if you want some spice in it, and you're not trying to kill yourself, and you want to still be able to like eat, then the hot is,
Yeah.
in my opinion, it's hot enough.
Okay.
Give you that little kick.
Yeah. Like sriracha type heat. Not really spicy, but
It's more of a peppery heat, I find.
mm,
At least for the Glico brand, I find that the hot is more of a peppery hot, like not like a liquid pepper hot, but like a ground pepper
like
dry hot.
like white pepper.
Something between a white pepper and black pepper, but like a dry peppery hot.
Mm. Hmm. Well, I'll have to, if I see it, then I'll have to get it, give it a shot and see how it's spicy. If it's not, then I'll put Tabasco. It's my go-to. Yeah.
Yeah, I've tried different hot sauces, and I keep going back to just plain classic Tabasco.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in the little bottle there.
Yep,
Just
yep.
yeah,
It's the original, and I don't know. I like that one.
yeah. It's a staple in my fridge for sure.
Yeah, I know some people don't like it, but some people love it, and I happen to be one that
Yeah,
keeps going back to that. I mean, I like to try different hot sauces, but I keep going back to Tabasco.
yeah. I love Tabasco. I have sriracha too, and I find a lot of people love that, and that's why I have it in my fridge because it's just it's I don't know. It just became really popular for the past 10 years. So
Mm-hmm.
I like sometimes I use sriracha, but it's not spicy enough for me. So Tabasco is just
Mm,
it's for me. It's like the right amount of spiciness, and
yeah.
yeah. Mhm.
Um, One thing, I think I mentioned this before on a podcast too. I'm not a huge fan of um, hot sauce or sriracha on my sushi. Like, you know how a lot of restaurants will use spicy mayo or apply sriracha on top of a roll or something. Like, I'm not a huge fan of that.
Yes, sriracha is used a lot in some of these specialty rolls in North
Hmm.
America. I find, yeah, especially the volcano roll. That's the one that's actually pretty popular. I have, well, and we have a friend that loves sushi, and he tends to order the volcano roll, and it's like a lot of sriracha sauce and what do you call it, panko crumbs, just crumbling on
Oh
top.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yes. So, but
Well, I mean, there's nothing better than going out to eat with people that love to eat.
yes, 100% on that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, I guess on that note,
Yep.
we'll wrap this up. So thanks everyone for listening to our podcasts. We hope you've been enjoying the guests, and we will catch you on the next one.